Thank you for joining us on this episode of AMC's For Your Consideration, movie talk for movie fans. This episode was originally recorded on Thursday, August the 9th, 2012, at the beautiful AMC Burbank 16 in Burbank, California. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the show. Green salutations, everybody. Welcome to the newest installment of AMC For Your Consideration, movie talk for movie fans. We sit around here and we talk about movies, of all things, and movie news and the newest things coming up today. As always, I'm your host. My name is John Campea. I'm the senior editor of AMC Theater Movie News. I'm so glad you've been able to join us. And joining me, first of all, sitting to my right, she is a writer for Screen Rant. She's also from IGN. She's Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach. Amy, thanks for being back.
Pleasure.
Yay.
And beside her is the associate editor here at AMC Movie News, J-Ro, Roth Cornett. How you doing, Roth?
Very well. I like that we're spreading the J-Ro.
And
Yes.
I go by A-Ro. Weird.
Do you?
A-Ro,
Yes, I really do.
Amazing.
Very good. And of course, I just want to mention that the star of this particular episode today is my new Superman shirt.
No.
It's pretty good.
Now, of course, everybody who knows anything about anything knows that Jor-El intended for Kal-El to land in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. That's where he meant for him to land, to be raised by really good
I hope
people.
there's comments happening right now, Ryan.
And of course,
I really
Superman.
do in the chat board.
Superman was
Yeah,
created
well,
by a Canadian. Not many people realize that.
No, that's fair, but
And I'm a good
No,
Canadian
right.
kid, and I just love this shirt. So it is the star of today's show. Listen, guys, we've got a whole bunch of stuff that we need to cover today. But for those of you who are joining us live on Ustream right now, don't forget that at the last part of the show, we are dedicated to you. We just want to take your questions and your comments and your topics. So you can go ahead and start throwing your questions and comments and topics that you want us to talk about near the end of the show. And Ryan, who's sitting at the control table back there, is going to keep track of those, and he's going to pick several. Apparently, he's open to bribery.
yes.
Did you get the $10 from last round?
I haven't yet. I'm still waiting on.
And so just let him know what he likes to
Yeah.
talk about. Throw it in there, and we'll pick that up. And for those of you who are watching us on YouTube or on your Apple TV at home or on Roku Box or wherever you're watching us, we do this show live every Monday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'd love for you to join us live if you can. If not, we're just more than happy that you're watching us right now. Listen, we got a few things we're going to cover today, including a quasi-debate, and I'll get to why I said quasi in a second, on what was the best movie this summer. Was it Batman or was it The Avengers? I'm going to warn you right now, when we get to the topic of Batman versus The Avengers, we are throwing these spoiler warnings out the window. We are going to fully go into spoilers on Batman and The Avengers. So if you have not seen The Dark Knight Rises, or if you've not seen The Avengers, or if you care about hearing spoilers, that part of the show you may want to take a 10-minute break from. Because when we get to that part, we are going to go into spoilers. But for now, there's two big directorial, I guess you could say, news stories. One that we got to get to. Number one is, we're going to start with this. Director Joss Whedon, of course, did a fantastic job with The Avengers. He did a magnificent job. There are some people who didn't know if he could do it. I was one of them. Although I'm a huge Joss Whedon fan, I was a little bit iffy. I thought maybe they should have brought Jon Favreau back, maybe got Kenneth Branagh to direct it, but they went with Joss Whedon. He did a magnificent job. And the question that has been floating around ever since has been, can they get Joss Whedon back to direct The Avengers 2? And that's been, and there have been many compelling arguments about why he may not come back to do it. But the other day, it was officially announced. Marvel Studios put out a press release that basically said, we have locked Joss Whedon in for 3 years. Joss Whedon is indeed coming back to direct The Avengers 2, but he's also going to be helping them develop an Avengers universe television show for ABC, and probably sticking his hand in the hat for the other Marvel films. It doesn't mean he's going to be directing them, but he's going to be involved in developing them. So, with that being said, Roth, let's start with you. Your reactions, your thoughts about the news that Joss Whedon is indeed returning for Avengers 2.
Well, I think it's a genius move on Marvel's part, to be honest. And I although I'm simultaneously surprised and not, because I think it's the right thing to do, and I think it's the smart thing to do. I also am not terribly surprised that Joss said yes, because he is going to be able, ideally, this is what I imagine, he's going to be able to make enough money in the next 3 years that he can go off and make any kind of movie and television show he wants to after that. But they have really locked him down. He was hesitant previously about saying that he would return to the Avengers. He kind of talked about how many ideas he had for his own original sort of stories, and that this is a lot of work to do on a story that's ultimately not totally
and he was completely exhausted.
And he was,
by the time Avengers came out, he was like The Walking Dead.
He was absolutely like at the junket for the event. You know, John and I were both at, and you probably were at the junket for the Avengers. He looked like, have you guys seen the Dark Crystal? You know, the creatures that they drain they drain their essence. Basically, that's what he looked like at the end. But I think he's really, and as a side note, I saw him in a hotel and overheard something at Comic-Con, but I won't say what it was. But it made me think he wasn't going to do it.
Us.
I'll tell you later. But I think this is a genius move. Look, they locked him down for television and for the Avengers 2, which are the two things he's so strong, and he's going to work on a Marvel Universe television show for ABC as well. Genius move on their part. He's wonderful in TV and has a huge, obviously, storied history there. Avengers 2 needs Joss Whedon, and I think it'll be interesting to see if he does passes on the upcoming, you know, is he going to do a pass on Thor 2? Is he going to do a pass
Explain
on
to people
Captain
what
America?
you mean when you say taking a pass.
So when I say taking a pass, thank you. What I mean is this, is that the scripts are already there, okay? But he may go in and sort of add, subtract, do a Whedon-esque pass on them so that they're more kind of in a cohesive, and this is what Marvel's done so well already, that they have more of a cohesive through line leading up to the Avengers 2, so that everything that's coming out in the next couple of years from Marvel is all leading in a cohesive way in one direction, which is what they've done so well, and I think why they've locked Joss down. The only thing that I hope is that we still see Dr. Horrible too.
Which I don't think will happen. Amy Rose, your thought on all this?
Yeah, I agree. I think that, thank you so much. I think that Joss, you know, a lot of people weren't really sure if he would take this on. I mean, obviously his writing credits are a little more impressive than his directorial credits to date. For some, I did love Buffy Angel, but I definitely think this is great. In order to take on such a universe that he did and give each of the heroes the amount of screen time and not make it feel rushed, and just the production value and everything, I loved it. By far my favorite of the summer, as we discussed last round. So I'm really excited and relieved to know that he's going to actually take good care of the Marvel Universe and keep it going.
To me, the best, I mean, I would have been fine if Whedon didn't come back. I mean, if it's up to me, I have Whedon come back. But I would have been okay if he didn't come back, because so far I have loved all the Marvel films, and they've all had different directors, aside from Iron Man 1 and 2, which both were Jon Favreau.
Right.
I thought Kenneth Branagh, I loved Thor. I thought Kenneth Branagh did a great job with that. I thought Captain America was amazing. I'm really looking forward to Shane Black's take on Iron Man. I mean, I've just really liked the way all these directors have worked. And so I would have been totally cool if they would have gone in another direction, or if Joss Whedon had decided, you know what, I'm going to take a break, and he decided to step back. Because I don't believe in this. There's this sentimentality. We're going to get into this a little bit with the next bit of news too. I don't believe in the sentimentality of only Joss Whedon can direct Avengers 2.
Yeah.
That's nonsense, because going to the Avengers, there were a lot of people out there saying only Jon Favreau can direct Avengers because he'd done such a great job with Iron Man. And then Thor came out and it was so good. Only Kenneth Branagh can direct the Avengers. Well,
I don't know that anyone said that about Kenneth.
Oh, I heard that. And I might have been one of the people saying it. But I did hear that. But you know, then you go from one James Bond movie to the next. If a James Bond movie's great, then you hear people saying only this director can direct the next one. And that's just not true. Just because somebody did a great job doesn't mean somebody else couldn't come along and also do a great or maybe even better job. But all other things being equal, love that Joss is back. I think the best part about this news, like you were saying, is the fact that, look, Whedon said coming to the Avengers, the toughest part was that it wasn't his story, because he had to go by what all these other films had done. But now he actually has some influence over what direction the next Thor goes in, over what direction the next Captain America goes in. He can steer the ship towards his vision of the Avengers too.
Right.
And to me, that's the best news. I really don't care about the TV show whatsoever.
Well,
I don't even really think it's going to happen. But
I think it'll happen. Absolutely, it will happen. And I mean, I have to say that I never doubted that Joss could do it. And in addition to Buffy and Angel, there's certainly Firefly that I think is possibly the most exemplary.
And I think Serenity is one of the best sci-fi movies of the past 10 years.
I love Serenity as well. And so I always really thought that he could do it, and I always thought he would pull it off. So those are my thoughts. Also, by the way, the Superman shirt, for anyone who just didn't see it, it's that it's got a Canadian flag in the middle. all
It
the
is the
sections.
star
of
I
this
love
episode.
Canada.
Very proud.
I love Canada. Nothing against Canada, but it's Superman. Okay,
South
moving
Park
on.
doesn't.
Anyway,
South Park
okay, let's move on to the next topic here. By the way, guys, if you have some comments or thoughts on that, make sure you throw them in there into the comment section if you're watching us live. Let's go on to the second topic here, and this is pretty big, completely out of left field, but big nonetheless. It was reported by Variety magazine yesterday that Warner Brothers, the studio that it currently owns the properties for DC, for the movie rights for DC Comics, and actually they might be owners of DC Comics if I'm not, I could be wrong about that. Correct me if I'm mistaken, folks in the chat board.
DC Entertainment.
DC Entertainment. They have sent the script they have for Justice League. They do have a script for Justice League, and they've sent the script to Ben Affleck for him to consider directing.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, this is not something I think any of us would have thought of right off the top of our heads. Hey, who should direct
Definitely not.
Justice League? But I'm going to tell you right now. I'll take the point on this one. This is genius.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a brilliant pick if they decided to go with Ben Affleck. Now, for a couple reasons. Number one, Ben Affleck, I've said this before, I'll say it again. He is one of the best new directors in Hollywood. He's directed 2 features so far in Gone Baby Gone, awesome movie. The Town,
Love The Town.
awesome movie. And now he's got Argo coming out soon, which looks incredible. All these high, powerful actors who've worked with him say he's amazing. He is a massive comic book fan. He's always been very, very open about how much of a geek for comic books he is. He understands that world. Now, some people in our Facebook pages have brought up some concerns, and we thought we asked people on Facebook, on our Facebook page, which you can find at facebook.com/AMC Theaters, what they thought about this news of Ben Affleck potentially directing a Justice League movie. And here's what some of you had to say. Ryan?
So for the Justice League, we have Jason Fataruso, who said Ben knows how to direct a movie. His first 2 movies he did were excellent. His third, coming out later this year, looks just as good. I think if he does get the JLA movie, the movie will be in good hands. Plus, the guy was a comic book fan growing up.
There you go.
So maybe he understands the audience, hopefully. As well, we have Daniel Negengast. I wonder who's going to play the superheroes. I hope they get Bale back to play Batman, which I think we all know
Not gonna happen.
isn't
The
gonna
third one?
happen. Yeah, and the third comment is from you, Coglin. I think it would be a very nice choice. He's a very good director, but more important than that, in my opinion, is the right screenwriter and, of course, a good choice actors who can knock this one out of the park.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I should also mention in the Facebook thing, a lot of people brought a concern saying, but wait a minute, talking about Ben Affleck, he already ruined Daredevil. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Wasn't
Ben
fully
Affleck
his
didn't
fault.
direct.
No,
Daredevil.
Ben Affleck did not write nor did he direct Daredevil.
He played Daredevil.
He played Daredevil. And look,
And it wasn't good, but
I
not fully his
actually
fault.
liked
No,
it.
you
No,
didn't.
I
you
did.
Nobody
No.
liked
trust me, it's not
Daredevil,
great. I never
John.
thought it was great, but I got a kick out. I thought it was a fun movie. And I thought John Favreau was really funny in it too.
Oh, man.
But the thing
Well,
is,
it made a marriage.
Ben Affleck had
Did that
nothing
for
to
that.
do with Daredevil other than starring it. He did not write it. He did not direct it. It has nothing to do with him. But that does bring up an interesting thing about this is what we've seen in The Town and what we see in Argo is that Ben Affleck is not adverse to putting himself as the star of the film in a film he is directing.
In fact, he embraces it.
He embraces it and he's excelled.
He
Yeah,
has
absolutely.
it much better.
Yeah.
So that raises the question. Okay, so we've got the reports are that the 5 members of the Justice League would be Green Lantern, The Flash, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. Now, taking Wonder Woman out of the equation, this raises a very
don't need
interesting
to do that.
possibility that Ben Affleck could indeed insert himself as the Green Lantern or Flash or Batman or Superman.
Yeah.
I could actually see Ben Affleck as a Superman. I
Well,
could
he
see
was
him
up
as a
for
Batman.
it years
Well,
back.
That's right, he
so
was.
it'd be kind of
Well,
poetic
And
for
he
him to
played
return.
Reeves in, what was that film he played?
That he played actually Christopher
Yeah,
Reeves himself.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking
Yeah.
Or
about.
George Reeves,
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
he
was the
played
name?
George Reeves in L.A. No, wasn't it?
Not LA
was
Confidential,
it?
but it felt like LA Confidential.
did.
Ask the chat board. Folks in the chat board.
what
What
was
was
the
that
name?
movie that he got a Golden Globe that Ben Affleck got a Golden Globe nomination
that?
for?
That's gonna
Where he
bother me.
played the
Let's look it
actor
up.
who played Superman. I can't remember the name of the film, but anyway.
The actor that Christopher Reeves.
No, he played George Reeves.
Played
He
George
Reeves.
He
He
was
played
the
George
Okay.
Reeves. That's what I'm saying.
Original
Yeah.
Superman.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Many Reeves, many Superman.
Too many Reeves.
Okay, here's the thing. Warner Brothers already has Superman. You know what I mean? They have Henry Cavill, who is Superman right now, and I think that if they're going to do a Justice, well, he's not now, but it's coming out. You know, it's in production, and if they're going to do a Justice League movie, I don't know why they wouldn't keep, unless it's a colossal failure.
Yeah.
I don't know why they wouldn't keep Henry Cavill as Superman. So let's X that out.
No, but having said that, remember a couple of years ago, while Christopher Nolan still had his Batman films going, Warner Brothers was looking at doing Justice League a few years ago, and they were thinking about having a different Batman, even though Brandon Routh was currently Superman at the time.
Well,
Christian Bale was
Another great
Bale was Batman at the time, and they were looking at doing a Justice League and running a parallel universe with a different Superman and Batman in their Justice League franchise, which was going to be under Happy Feet director.
Okay.
Anyway, but they abandoned that, so they could still have that philosophy. Anyway,
I would really be shocked if they took that track, because number one,
I'd be shocked too.
I think
it'd be a mistake.
I think this is the challenge that a Justice League movie faces at this point, is that you
timing.
don't have three things. One, you don't have, as Marvel had in place when they went into the Avengers, these characters already established. Now, Ben Affleck, which one would he play? He's not dumb enough to play Batman right now. He's not. He's not going to be the one to take on Bruce Wayne and Batman directly after Christian Bale did it.
What about Green Lantern? Ryan?
You know what I mean? He's not going to do that. And so who would he play? Probably the Flash. That's my guess. I think they would keep Henry Cavill as Superman, unless, I said, that this is a colossal failing, because it's more I think they're going to keep that, find a Batman, and he would be the Flash. That's my guess if he put himself into the movie. However, I will also say this. The problem is, like we were saying, is that Marvel already was on track. They had a similar, although they're different movies, they had a similar tone. Those films had a similar tone. They were going in a similar direction. So when you put all of these characters together, we already knew them. We had a sense of who they were as individuals, and they made sense in a collective universe. Green Lantern and the Superman that I believe is going to come out are going to be two very different films. From what I can see from the trailer and what it looks like that tone is, they are going to be two very different films with two very different tones. So the best thing that you can do, the best thing that Ben Affleck can do as a director, is maintain, in my opinion, as close to the tone that Nolan established in the Batman universe as possible. Because Marvel owns the big, comedic, fun, bombastic, larger-than-life comic book movie.
It has to stand on its own.
They own it. You know what you ought to own if you're Warner Brothers? Own the dark, gritty, real-world comic book movie. And every single movie DC movie that you release now, let it have that tone. Do not let it go off and do its own thing. If you're smart, you will own that track, is my opinion.
Yeah. It definitely has to stand on its own. I mean, they haven't had the build-up or the credibility that Marvel has had, so it's kind of a different beast. I do think Ben Affleck's a really smart choice. I mean, unless you wanted to do, a master of the DC animated universe like Bruce Timm or something like that, like that would work as well. But I think Affleck's really smart. He definitely turned me around as he's been a director. Like, I didn't take him seriously in Daredevil. Most of his earlier works as an actor, Good Will Hunting, sure, but
Hollywoodland.
a lot. Yeah.
Hollywoodland was the name of the film. That was the
Sorry
name
for
of
the
the
brief
film.
mix-up world.
I'm glad we got
Hollywoodland, George Reeves, Ben Affleck.
But yeah, no, I think it's
he
really
won an Academy
smart.
Award, though.
Yeah,
He was
I just never really believed him. But as a director, I've been really impressed, especially his writing contributions as well. And being a comic book fan, I do think this is a really smart move from them. DC needs to get back to, the universe that we know and love and actually do justice to it. Unlike, Nolan did a really good job, but other films to date don't really hold up. So what he needs to do is really make Justice League stand on its own, and we don't have all the lead ups like the Thors of the world and Marvels and uniting. And I think the casting is kind of important. It's pretty bold to have Batman not Christian Bale in there. It's not going to happen, as we know, but it's pretty bold. I mean, I guess you can't focus on Justice League without Batman, but they could throw someone else in the mix. It's pretty bold.
This brings us back to one of the things I was mentioning about Joss Whedon. Again, a lot of the sentiment I read from a bunch of people is, only Christopher Nolan can direct Justice League. No, Christopher Nolan did a magnificent job with the Batman films. But this very myopic, very short-sighted view that then only Christopher Nolan can do these Batman films. I still remember when Christopher Nolan was announced was announced as being the director for Batman Begins. There was a lot of people who were like, "This is garbage. Who's this Nolan guy? He's never done anything. He's never done a comic book film. I mean, he's done one or two little arty pieces, blah blah." But I knew, and a few other people knew, this guy's a sharp director. He could do a great job. So everybody was complaining at first, he's a totally wrong guy to do Batman Begins. And now we're all going to the other extreme saying, only Christopher Nolan can be doing it. No, somebody else can do it. And somebody else can do it well, or it could fail. But I love it. This is the other interesting. How about this, though? With a Ben Affleck attached, what are the possibilities we could see a Matt Damon involved in Justice League?
That would
God
be
willing.
amazing.
God willing, because you know, it would be fun too. And we're talking about passes of
He
scripts.
could be a good Flash.
You know, of course, like.
How about a Justice League written by Ben Affleck
This is what I'm
and
about to say.
Matt Damon?
No, I'm not
Amazing.
even kidding to some degree. I'm kidding to some degree. Look, there's a script that's in place, and maybe it's excellent and doesn't need to be touched. But the truth is, most of the times when directors come on board, they do their own pass at a script because they're giving it their interpretation. And so let's not forget that he won an Academy Award when he was 28 for Good Will Hunting, for writing Good Will Hunting, co-writing it with Matt Damon.
His acting wasn't that great in that film, but
Oh,
his writing,
no, you're nuts. You're nuts.
I think he did okay.
I thought he was
but
wonderful
compared to
in that.
Matt Damon,
Matt
it wasn't
Damon was
even
the-
close.
Well, Matt Damon was the star of the movie.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was.
Matt
But
Damon
in
was the
terms
star
of
of
the
the movie.
levels, and then you look at their career after that, and Ben Affleck made some interesting choices.
I'll
I'm
tell
a
you this
fan
right now. Between Damon and Affleck, the single best performance out of either of I'm not saying who is the better actor. I'm going to tell you. The single best performance out of either of them, Ben Affleck in Changing Lanes, is the best performance given by either of those two guys in any film.
That,
No.
Then
Anyway,
maybe
but
don't do
the
it
good
for me.
news is that they're friends and it's possible. I don't know that Matt Damon at this point in his life would take on, and I don't even know if it's
I'm
really
not sure either.
realistic.
No, I don't
for him
think so
to
either.
take on a superhero role.
But it's fun to think
it'd
about.
be fun.
but
We could throw Robin
perhaps-
Williams in there too. Get the whole gang back together.
No, but there may be another role within that world
Sure.
that would make sense for him to take on, and that would be fun.
Perhaps.
You know.
Right.
That would be
but I
fun.
think it's fair to say that all three of us are really on board with the idea, not that it has to be Ben Affleck, but that the idea of Ben Affleck directing this is a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's would be an amazing roll of the dice for his
Now,
career.
who do you think would be a good
Roll the dice it would be, yes.
good Wonder Woman? Who do you think would be a good Wonder Woman?
That Wonder Woman's tough,
Wonder
isn't it?
Woman's
And I
tough.
think that's why they've struggled with it for so long, because the character in her, she's gonna have to be so. All right, I'm gonna get a lot of flack, but in order for her to make sense as a modern day female heroine, she's going to have to be reimagined in a lot of ways, in order for women to really get behind this
I
character.
think Leah Collins would do a pretty good job. I liked her in John Carter, and
I
I
liked
think
her in John
that
Carter,
she was
too.
strong but a badass. She's beautiful,
Yeah.
and like I know that I just think she's something like that where
I
you would
think in
believe
another
it.
where you would believe it. I liked her in John Carter too. I think
I
that's
liked
a
her a lot
really
in it.
good call. I think back in the day, Angelina Jolie was like a no-brainer for
Yeah.
Wonder Woman.
But she's-
she
doesn't. I don't think she has the physique to be Wonder
well,
Woman.
she's very
Popping out too
Because
many
you got to be
babies,
also
or-
a powerful looking.
No, she's actually
person.
really too skinny.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think she's
To
too.
be
I think you
Wonder
need a really powerful looking
Yeah.
person to play Wonder
Yeah,
Woman. But
why? Oh, sure. I know that some people suggested
Strong.
Gina Carano for Wonder Woman,
She's-
which is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
But let's face it, Gina's
She's too
fabulous.
strong.
Well, it's not even just that.
She's also just
still-
learning how to act.
She's
Yeah,
learning
she's
how to
not
act.
Can she
That's
That's
carry a
but I love
major
her.
character? I don't think she can carry a major character
That's
yet.
what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
She's still learning how to act.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to watching her learn.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move
badass.
on. Let's move on. And folks, once again, if you're in the chat board, leave us your comments and thoughts in there. It's time for us to get to this interesting little thing here. The question, I mean, we brought it up because we were talking about the other week. We talked about, what were our top movies of the summer, and Dark Knight and The Avengers gets mentioned all the time for those two. Yes.
I'm getting a Facebook message to you, but maybe we'll wait till we do messages. Somebody's messaging me to send to you.
Oh, I see. So here, this brings up the question, though. It always seems to come down to, with a very few exceptions, when you ask people what was the best movie this year, it always comes down to The Dark Knight Rises or The Avengers. And now, this discussion, once again, I'm going to give you a warning for the next 10 minutes. This is going to be filled with spoilers.
Spoiler alert. So
So if you haven't seen the movie, don't want to hear about it, move away. Just move away. Check out for 10 minutes. Or if you're watching on YouTube, fast forward 10 minutes. And it always comes down to The Dark Knight Rises versus The Avengers. Obviously, they are two very different movies. Completely different in tone, completely different in what their emphasis is on. But still, we're movie fans, so we discuss and we argue. What is the best one? Now, I tried to find a co-host for today to sit on the panel who actually liked The Dark Knight Rises better, but I actually could not find one. It's not going to be much of a debate up here because all three of us up here believe The Avengers was the better film. But I'm going to talk for a minute here. I'm going to start off. I'm going to pass it down the line. I'm going to start off with why I would put Avengers above The Dark Knight Rises. Number one, on the Avengers side, I've said it before, say it again. The most fun I have ever had in my life in a movie theater. Never in my life as a film fan have I ever had more fun in a movie theater. It was just that good. I've never been in an audience, well, maybe once or twice for different films, but in a film like this, where I literally saw the audience multiple times through the screening, jumping to their feet and screaming and cheering. You never see that. We're a very embittered bunch, movie fans. But, I mean, it was just unbelievable. And I left that theater with this ridiculous grin on my face. So pumped. Like I was just jumping up and down. I was so excited. It's funny. It's engaging. It's fun. Visually, it's amazing. The action is maybe the best we've ever seen in any comic book movie ever. On The Dark Knight Rises. Now, it's going to sound like I'm slamming on The Dark Knight Rises because I'm going to be bringing up the problems I had with it, but it's a great movie. It's a very, very good movie. I liked it very much. I've seen it multiple times in the theater here. That being said, I can't remember who was with us the other day that brought this up. It might have been Jenna Bush who brought this up. The Dark Knight Rises, unlike Batman Begins and unlike Dark Knight, was just not fun. Now, it wasn't meant to be the fun film as the Avengers.
And she got slacked for that.
Yeah, but Dark Knight with Heath Ledger, it was a dark, serious film, but it was also fun.
Yeah, really fun.
There was no fun in The Dark Knight Rises.
Well,
it was so dark and gritty, but the big thing for me was there's a complete lack of consistency in the film as well. It's like, okay, the last time we saw Bruce Wayne 8 years ago, he was fighting Two-Face and doing all this stuff. Now 8 years later, he hasn't been Batman, but now he can't walk without a cane? Like, wait a minute. He was Batman and doing just fine, and now he can't walk without a cane? Several big logic flaws I have, like things like, okay, some little things like, okay, Bane and his gangsters go into the trade center to rob it, and it's morning. They come out to run from the cops, and it's midnight.
Yeah.
They were in there for about 15 minutes.
That bothered me.
It's like, okay, well, that's basic film school consistency, like continuity stuff. Then you get things like, okay, so Bane has Bruce Wayne in this pit in, they never said if it's the Middle East or South Africa. I'm assuming it's South Africa because Alfred had mentioned at one point that Bane was from South Africa or had done some coup in South Africa. But he comes out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe from when Bruce was watching the television screen, it was one day, a broke, out of money Bruce Wayne, who doesn't even really know where he is, gets out of this pit and gets to Gotham in one day.
And he's broke.
And he's broke. He doesn't have his millions to charter a jet or whatever. He's broke. And this thing that even the military can't get to, even if he can get back to the States, the military can't get into Gotham. It's completely quarantined off. Bruce has none of his toys. He doesn't have his Batman outfit. He doesn't have any money. But in one day, he traveled from South Africa or the Middle East, and suddenly he's in Gotham. And found Anne Hathaway in the midst of this giant city. I also didn't like the love interest, like this thing going on between Bruce and Talia al Ghul. It's like,
After
okay,
8 years of being a loner, and all of a sudden
he did not know it was Talia.
No, but just the character, right?
Yeah.
8 years, he won't even talk to another woman because he's still in such desperate mourning for Rachel. And then suddenly, after running in to her for 30 seconds at a party, I'm over it.
At least she's hot.
And I'm in love. And I'm going to sacrifice my life for you. I mean, I didn't buy that. There were just so many things. Bane, I love Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
And unlike the Joker, who I loved in The Dark Knight, Joker was the better villain. I never felt afraid when the Joker was on screen. I was just engaged. I was engaged with Heath Ledger. But I will say for Tom Hardy, I'm scared of Bane. He is scary, but
I'm scared of
even
Tom
with his
Hardy.
Sean Connery voice, was he scared of you?
I am not scared of Bane.
even with the gay butler voice, yes. But
Gandalf saying evil things.
But then they
Ryan.
completely
Shall not pass.
they neutered Bane by showing he's actually just a glorified henchman of Talia al Ghul. The whole reason the League of Shadows and Batman Begins wanted to destroy Gotham was because it was unsavable. It was corrupt to its core and can't be saved. But we're 8 years later, and the first thing we find out in the movie is that Gotham was saved. Crime has almost been eliminated,
Right.
blah, blah. And yet we're going to blow it up. And this leads to one of my biggest problems logically with the film. Talia al Ghul says, my big dream is to fulfill my father's mission and destiny
Right.
So
to
why wait
destroy
5
Gotham.
months?
Why are you waiting 5 months? Guess what? When Ra's al Ghul... Okay, when he had the chance to destroy Gotham, he was putting it in motion, he was hitting the button, and he was getting ready to destroy Gotham.
It's a
Talia al
button.
Ghul, no, you know what would be fun? Let's give our enemies 5 months to figure out a way to
watch
stop
it
us.
decay.
For no reason.
Well,
They make up some reasons in the movie, but those were all baloney. And so, in the midst of this great film of tone, brilliantly directed by Christopher Nolan, beautifully acted once again by Christian Bale, I think a very good villain in Bane.
No.
Anne Hathaway, I thought, was the best thing about this
No
movie.
question.
I
Yes,
thought
she was
Catwoman
fantastic.
would ruin this movie, but she was amazing in it. But in the midst of all that, all these blatant, huge logic problems, and don't even get me started about the ridiculous ending. The ending was preposterous. I'm sorry, you're a 5'9" guy who can't even fight, and I've met you twice. I'm going to make you the new Batman, kid. How about that? Ridiculous. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the George Clooney Batman film when they said, Blondie girl found the Batcave. Okay, she can be Batgirl.
Well,
It made about as
also-
much
Oh,
sense as
sure.
that to
Are
me.
you
He
sorry,
knew he
wasn't
was
that Alicia
Batman
Silverstone?
because
yeah,
one encounter.
He
because
figured out
could've
he was
co-
Batman because
I knew.
the way I saw you smile once.
Yeah,
I knew
you're
you were
Batman.
Batman.
It was in your eyes.
Really? Come on. I mean, all these things just to me knock it down a couple of notches to still being a great movie. I enjoyed it very much, seen it many times. I'm just talking about the negatives right now. But, oh my God. Hey, Ryan, what do we got in the chat board going on?
Well, I just got a great comment from Anna Salmaso, and she says, after The Dark Knight Rises, all I could focus on was its flaws, echoing your points here. With the Avengers, couldn't remember any.
But you know, and
'Cause you
that's
were
a bit
so
of a
engaged.
testament. That's a testament to how good Christopher Nolan has been with this series. The fact that our expectations are so high.
Right.
Because we walk into a movie without a lot of expectations.
Yep.
We don't think about the flaws coming out.
Yeah.
But because Christopher Nolan is so good and set the bar so high, that these flaws that jump out, they're the things that stick with us. And that's not fair. It's unfortunate, but it's kind of what happens.
Well, I would say I got a message. Do you want your message? Somebody
Sure.
just chatted me and said, "Hey, John, just wanted to say thank you for your video on The Dark Knight Rises and its problems. It's still a great movie, but I think it's almost funny how ignorant some of the problems of the movies are." Anyways, they're basically echoing the same thing, this is what I think. I think that fans are enthusiastic, and I think that's great. And I think there's fans of all kinds of properties where
I'm
love
not
it.
enthusiastic. I don't get passionate about
Well,
these things.
this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I think that sometimes fans get so enthusiastic and they really love it so much that they kind of put up blinders to any sort of failings that a property may have, and they don't want to hear it and they don't like it because they just want to love it so much because they're attached, and that's okay. I understand that, but like there does have to be, nothing's really perfect. Even the most perfect movie is probably not perfect.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing. The second thing is this, that we're talking about the best movies of the summer. There's probably some films this summer that in the long run I may look back on and go, that was a brilliant film. Like, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really looking forward to Beasts of the Southern Wild.
Me too.
And things like that. So, but if we're talking about big, epic summer event films, there were really the two big ones this summer to look at. And these are these two. I would agree with about 90% of what you said in terms of the logical failings.
percentage.
I think that there are logical failings in a lot of films that people ignore, and especially if
Yeah.
they're really attached to the director. But I think that the biggest fault for me was the thing that in this film was the thing that I'd always liked the best about his Batman movies, which were the villains. I happen to love the Scarecrow in Batman Begins, and I loved the Joker. We all did. And
Amazing.
listen, it was not fair for Tom Hardy to have to come in and follow up on what Heath Ledger did in that movie. Man, he was working at a deficit to begin with. It was just
He
not
did a
fair.
good job.
Well, hold on. I will say this: the first time he spoke in the film, I said, "I miss muffled Bane," because that voice, and I sat in a room with Tom Hardy, and he is terrifying. I thought if there is anybody that can just be viscerally terrifying, it's going to be Bane. Like, it's going to be Tom Hardy. This man is scary. Just look at me. Look at him in Warrior. He twitches, and you think
Yeah.
he's going to kill someone.
He's great.
But that voice, Gandalf saying evil things, I will I was like,
We have Bane offs at my office.
I'm just like, I just feel like that totally emasculated him. I was like, I saw him kicking the crap out of people, and I was like, it's still funny. Like, it's just the voice, and I do really like the film. So let me just say, I do think it has great performances and it has a good tone. But I also think it was a little fragmented, like people have said. It had a lot of things that Nolan wanted to sort of tie together there at the end. I liked Talia. I liked Marianne Cotillard. I liked that whole backstory about the prison.
So did I.
That was a rich, fun, dynamic. It was a visceral backstory. She was a great villain. We just didn't see enough of her. That's the big flaw. And the biggest flaw is there was no reason. And here's the deal. When the Joker had no reason for what he was doing, he pointedly had no reason.
Right.
He was a sociopath who lied about who and what he was. He was the embodiment of chaotic evil.
Yeah, he reveled in the chaos.
It was terrifying to me because that is perhaps the most scary thing to me in the world is the idea that there is just chaotic, meaningless evil. But when Talia had no reason for what she was doing, it just undercut what she did. And I think that the idea is like, oh, let's let them suffer for 5 months and think that they're going to get out of it and let them believe that if the city blows up,
without hope, there is no suffering.
Exactly, there is no suffering.
And
then if the city blows up, let's let them think that it's something that they did. I just think that there were a few interesting through lines that didn't get as filled out as they could have been if it had been a bit more focused. And I also have to absolutely agree that Anne Hathaway's Catwoman was the best thing in that movie.
And we all had doubts, and she just killed it.
And the tension between she and Bale is where I would have I think that Marianne Cotillard could have been there and they could have taken out the sexual romantic aspect of it. I understand why they did because in the he dates her in the comics. He dates Talia.
Yeah, but the film,
he's
the
so
way they
self-destructive.
If I'm not mistaken, they have a child in the comics.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's the new Robin, I believe their son is the new Robin.
I get
Or
why
Nightwing, what's happening?
Right, but it was like trying to add in too many things. It's like focus the romantic tension between him and Catwoman for this.
Well, and this brings up another issue I had because we were just talking about this before the show started. It's like, okay, so it takes Bruce Wayne 8 years to get over Rachel to get involved with Talia al Ghul. But once he realizes she's a villain and is out to destroy the city, he rebounds in 2 minutes and hooks up with Catwoman.
Whenever a hot woman is around, basically.
But that's because Talia was the rebound girl to begin with. She was the girl that got him out of his funk until he met the real girl.
That's a pretty quick rebound. And the last thing I'll say about it is this. I was also, the action, the fights, I was kind of disappointed with the action in The Dark Knight Rises. Because, okay, the first fight between Batman and Bane was okay.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they had that. For those of you who know the Nightfall series, that iconic shot of Bane lifting Batman over his head, bringing him down over his knee, that is an iconic, will live forever in comic book fans' minds. I'm so glad they had that shot in there. And I thought, okay, the fight wasn't amazing, but that's because they're going to fight again later. And that's going to be amazing. And that fight was just...
And this big villain, Bane, like having, Catwoman come and just shoot him and he's done. Like, we wanted another epic battle at the end between the two.
Yeah,
and
it was very anticlimactic. But anyway.
Good question. What would have happened if Talia had been revealed halfway through the film? I would have been interested in that.
Yeah,
I would have liked to see that.
But listen, for now, we're going to get to our mailbag here in just a second. But before we get to our mailbag, by the way, guys, continue filling the chat board with your comments about this topic in particular. Now, before we get to our mailbag, though, I want to remind you guys that this weekend, the new film, The Bourne Legacy, opens in AMC theaters everywhere. And a couple of weeks ago, I actually had the privilege of having Jeremy Renner, the star of the film, and Tony Gilroy, the director of the film, come down here to Los Angeles and meet with us at our AMC Century City location to sit down and talk about the Bourne Legacy. And we just wanted to show you this clip of that interview right now. So, Ryan, go ahead and play that. Okay, greetings AMCers, John Campea here with AMC Movie News, and we're here at the beautiful AMC Century City, where we're getting ready to watch some advanced footage of the new film, The Bourne Legacy. And Tony, I'm going to start with you. I'm extremely excited about this film. I know a lot of people are excited about it, but you made us excited about it because not so long ago when the idea was first brought to the public about another Bourne film without Jason Bourne, thought, well, that sounds a little bit odd. You sold us on it. What did you see in this project and in this Bourne universe that a lot of us didn't see at first?
When we laid this out, and we realized when the idea presented itself, and we realized that we had an opportunity to not only preserve everything that had happened before and enhance everything that happened before and start a whole new program and a whole new series of characters that were consistent with everything that we'd done before. It got very exciting for us, and it opened the horizon for a whole new way to go, and being able to keep everything that we'd done before as well.
Now, Jeremy, when we think of Jeremy Renner, we already know Oscar caliber actor, but you don't often think of Oscar caliber actor and action star in the same breath. In the last year, we've really seen you thrive in both. What is it about you as a performer that allows you to thrive as both an Oscar caliber actor and a legit action star?
I have no idea. I really don't. I think the landscape of action movies are much different than what I grew up on. And not that there's anything against those, because I mean, I love those Stallone movies and all those, you know what I mean? There's just a different sort of vibe. There's a different form of authenticity and visceralness to these movies. Not that Avengers is that by any means,
right.
but that's just a different sort of popcorn movie. With the Bourne universe, which is something I'm very attracted to, which is a little bit based more on truth and reality. And that's where I feel like regular old acting coincides with, kick-ass action.
Now, I find when artists step into an existing franchise, be them directors or actors, they like to bring a new element to it. They want to bring something fresh to it. When you guys first started talking about Bourne together, what was that something new that you wanted to bring into this franchise?
Well, we had a legitimate right to sort of slightly change the way it looked and the way it felt a little bit, because the movie itself is an expansion. We're sort of really saying, wow, you're only seeing a small piece of something that happened before, and we're going to blow the doors open now on what happened. So we spent a lot of time thinking, the people who are making the visual side of the film, how much we should stay with, the visual style that had been attached to the films and became a really significant character in the films. But because we were going so much bigger and more epic and wider, we thought, well, we'll keep all the testosterone of it. We don't ever want to lose any of that. But the story almost demands a slightly different visual vocabulary. So we brought that. I don't know what the hell you brought. What did you bring?
Well, we had a great sort of 3 movies prior to this, and we knew what we didn't have to do because that was already done. So a lot of the arguments like, look, we're not in that trap of like amnesia world. That that they were trapped in that, so they that sort of ran its course and can continue in another way, to another form. But what we had is a wide open doors from where they kind of left off, and even in a parallel universe. So it was really wide open. It's a brand new canvas for us, really. I feel like, don't you?
What I've been dying to ask this question for you, Tony. What made Jeremy the right guy for this particular film?
The only reason to make this movie, for me, we had a really cool idea and a really cool notion to start off about how to place this in context with the other films. Very cool, very sexy, everybody gets everybody excited. A lot of motivation to want to make the movie, but the movie doesn't drop. You don't want to start working on the script, and you certainly don't want to commit as a director until there was a character that's worthy of being at the center of one of these movies. Jason Bourne had a character need and problem that was enough fuel to burn for 3 movies. We needed something that was very important, and when you have that, you need a proper actor. All right? So you need a really proper actor, and to find somebody who has the weight and the gravitas and has the chops and has the physical ability to do all this, and he happened to be available as well. And so
he was the first one to answer the phone.
No.
Well,
so it was the trifecta there. Yeah.
I'm gonna get you guys to put on your salesman hats just for a second.
Today, we just did it today. This is the first time we put them on. I need a red dress.
Why should AMC audiences feel justified in being excited about seeing the Bourne Legacy?
It's really freaking cool movie. We really delivered. I don't know. I mean, we really. It's go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be the best 2-hour ride you have all summer. It's a high-speed chess, so it's got the smarts, and it's also got the visceral action that you can't beat.
I mean, being serious, I was nervous when we looked at everything that was coming out this summer and where we're going to be, and we've moved our date around in the last. I'm really happy where we are. lot of great movies this summer, a lot of really huge, great movies, but I don't think that there's nothing photo real. There's nothing that takes you to real places with real gravity and real pain and real people in some really, high octane movie. There's nothing quite like that. So I think we sort of lucked out in a way. It's a very busy summer, but there's a really good place for us to show what we have.
Well, listen, guys, thanks again for taking the time to join us. We can't wait to see this film. Congratulations, and AMC audiences, we're just really excited to have this on our screens. Thanks again. So once again, folks, don't forget, Bourne Legacy opens in AMC theaters everywhere, opening at midnight tonight, being Thursday night. Make sure you can get your tickets right now at amctheaters.com. Hey, listen, before we move on to the mailbag, I just wanted to let you guys know about a very special event happening at AMC theaters for people who are members of our rewards program called Stubs. If you're not a Stubs member, you completely should be. Trust me, I've been raving about Stubs for a long time. I love this program. But if you are a Stubs member, there is a free screening coming out of the new Dax Shepard, Bradley Cooper, Kristen Bell film, Hit and Run. I believe it's on August the 14th. Now you see on the screen there, we've got a URL for you to go and get all the information, find out how you can get into the screening. It's at amctheaters.com/hit-and-run. So you can get all your information there. So make sure you go check that out. Listen, folks, every week for people who don't watch live, we want to give you a chance to ask us questions and bring up topics you'd like us to talk about. And you can send those questions and comments to us at our email address, which is fycpodcastshow@gmail.com. Once again, that's fycpodcastshow@gmail.com. Send us those emails. We'll pick a couple to address, and we've actually got a few right now to get to. So, Ryan, what do we got in the mailbag?
All right, from Rebecca Vanderhoven, we have, I love your show. It gives me something fun to listen to while I'm at work. Okay, me and my husband are big Star Wars fans. Do you think there is any chance we could see more Star Wars movies in the near future?
Yeah, if Lucas has his way.
Yeah.
Possibly. I think possible.
The last three, the prequels didn't really do justice, in my opinion, to it. The originals hold up so strong. So I'm a little cautious about it, but I absolutely love that universe and the story and the characters, and I would love to see it if they did it right.
Yeah, well, I think that I think 99% of the population will agree with you in terms of wanting it. Look, if I had my way, the original three Star Wars films would live, the prequels would not. Quite honestly, that's just how I feel about it. But will we see more? Maybe.
I certainly don't think we will in George Lucas's time.
You don't?
I think George Lucas, I think he hurts. I think he saw the reaction he got from it, and I think it hurt him a lot. And I don't think he's looking to jump back into that. Now, that being said, once Lucas retires officially and hands over the reins, I think we could see more Star Wars in the future. There's going to be some studio, whether it's Fox or Warner Brothers or somebody else, who knows. Look, as much as all of us whine and complain about the Star Wars prequels, and I'm one of them, we'll also line up and camp out for 5 days to get tickets to see the next Star Wars. We just will. And I think studios know that, and somebody will bring up the money for it to happen. But I think it'll be after George Lucas officially passes the baton. Anyway, what else we got, Ryan?
We have from Robert a question regarding SNL creator Lorne Michaels. I read an article that said SNL creator Lorne Michaels will be producing the next Academy Awards and that his pick to host the show would be Jimmy Fallon. John, I know your love of the Oscars, but what do you think of that? Robert T.
Well, first of all, I got told something very interesting
Jimmy
here.
Fallon's not doing it. That's confirmed.
Yeah, Amy Rose was telling us just before the show started that Jimmy Fallon is official. He's not doing it. I did read those reports as well. But my answer to that question, what if Jimmy Fallon was hosting it? I'd hate it. Not that I dislike Jimmy Fallon at all, but I have a standing philosophy that I believe the biggest night in the movies should be hosted by a movie personality. That's just the way I feel. I'm not going to get a plumber to host the ESPN Awards. I'm not going to get a dentist to host a firefighter gala. I want a movie person hosting the movie, the biggest night in the movies.
Do you like Billy Crystal?
Well,
Do you like his
absolutely?
take? I think he's the best.
Billy Crystal, I think, is one of the best that's ever hosted the show.
There have been good. Anyway, I don't know if I totally take that track. I more feel this. I think that the Academy has struggled to find its youth hook and really, really
and
stumbled.
failed with Hathaway and Franco.
Really stumbled with their attempt to understand the Twitterverse and things like that with Hathaway and Franco. It just didn't serve those two actors, and it really didn't serve the Academy Award. I just think that they need to remove themselves from that universe and like set themselves up as, hey, we're a class act here, kids, and we're going to remain a class act. And I think that having somebody like a Billy Crystal and so forth like that works for them. So why not continue on? That's my opinion.
Who would you like to see host, Amy Rose?
That's tough. I mean, I do think that certain comedians, if they do, you can really tell they have a love for film. It can work. I haven't really seen many to date. I do think Billy Crystal is as good as it gets. I do love his gimmicky opening with, putting himself in all the best picture roles and all that. I think he's great. Someone iconic like that, it's really hard to pick someone off the top of my head. Now, on the other end of it, I think Lorne is an awesome choice because I think he'll add maybe that
as a
kind
producer.
of pulls as a producer.
Yeah,
I think that, he'll pull in maybe that youth because even though Saturday Night Live is not at its height like it was, it still has some funny skits, some personalities that are still really good. So maybe that will kind of pull in the youth a little more on its own. So they should keep the host at a more iconic, movie star level than
George Clooney should host the Oscars.
I would be, completely on board with that.
George Clooney should host the Oscars. Him or Tom Hanks. I think Tom Hanks. A lot of people forget he was a stand-up comedian before becoming this big Academy Award-winning director. So I'd love Tom Hanks too. But anyway, Ryan, what else?
Wilson too.
Sure.
Wilson, come hang out.
Which Wilson?
From Castaway.
Oh, I
Come
thought you said Rainn Wilson. I'm like, did you really just suggest Rainn
I'd rather
Wilson?
Jimmy Fallon over Rainn Wilson any day.
Anyway, Ryan, what else do we got?
All right, last question from the mailbag is, why are 3/4 of the actors in top movies, non-American? 20 years ago, it was the reverse. That comes from Thomas Bergstrom.
Aside from that, it's funny because I was bringing this up like about a year ago. I was talking to some people. It just felt like I went to like 8 junkets in a row where I was interviewing people, and it seemed like the stars of all these movies were all, like, it felt like 8 films in a row, Australian. I felt like they were all Australian, and I have no problem with that, but I was just like, it's kind of weird that all these like American characters are being played by Australian or British folks. It felt like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I think everything goes in cycles. I think we're in the middle of a cycle right now. We're getting, it's the hot thing to get Australian actors. I think that'll be replaced with something else, and then I think that'll be replaced with something else. I think it goes in cycles, but I don't really know why that's the case. I mean, if you're shooting the film in Australia, I get it. I don't know why we go through Canadian actors. Ryan Gosling, ladies and gentlemen. Good Canadian kid. I don't know why we go through...
Thank you, Canada.
Then we go through Australian cycles, and then British actor cycles, and I don't know why it is. Amy Rose, any thoughts?
I don't know why it is either. I think cycles. A good actor is a good actor from wherever they're from. If they produce good work, I'm all for it.
I agree that you just have to cast the best person in the role. I do understand why the discussion comes up with certain iconic characters that, when Superman was cast, when Henry Cavill was cast, and I think he's going to be great in the movie.
So do I.
It was a question when Captain America was going to be cast. It was a question of, well, aren't we please going to have an American actor do this? And I think that some people resist that discussion, but I understand the discussion. Listen, if Harry Potter had been cast as an American actor, there would have been an understandable outcry in Britain. That is a British iconic character at this point. And so I understand the discussion, but ultimately it's going to go to the right actor.
Or a cute little Caucasian kid playing the lead role in The Last Airbender.
Well, no,
which
that
just kind of made no sense.
That was insane. That was insane.
But why it happens, really, I don't know why it is, but I do think it's in cycles, and I think it'll come and go. I think we'll go through another cycle where we'll really see all American actors, and then I think we'll go through more cycles where more international people will come and go. Listen. We're going to get to the last part of the show now, where we're just going to open it up to our chat board for people watching us live. And I know Ryan's been back there keeping track of the questions coming in. So, Ryan, what's the chat board saying?
We've got Jimmy LA says, John, what do you think of the last comic book movie of the summer, Dread? I don't know the answer to that one. But,
okay, well, we kind of touched on Dread on the last episode. But for those of you who weren't here for this, look. We we held a special screening of Dredd with Lionsgate at Comic-Con this year. And I had a chance to meet and hang out with Carl Urban, who was on our panel at Comic-Con last year, too.
Cool.
And I had my doubts about Dredd. Obviously, I'll be frank with you, I didn't like the trailer. I remember talking to some other people at AMC about this saying, there are other people at AMC who love the Dredd trailer. And I looked at it and said, I don't like this trailer. I had my doubts about Dredd. Oh my goodness, this movie's awesome.
I'm dying to see it.
It is dripping with awesome.
Dripping with violent awesome.
I came out of Dredd and I tweeted right away, this is the most violent film I've ever seen in my life. But it's awesome violence. It is just oozing with violence. Dredd you never see Carl Urban's eyes, which I know a lot of Dredd fans, the comics, have been insisting upon. Never once does he take that mask off. You never see his eyes in it, which I thought was brilliant. The girl from
Game of Thrones.
Lena Headey.
Is that, pardon?
Lena Headey.
Lena Headey.
Yeah.
Oh, she's
as
good.
the villain, she's freaked me out as
amazing.
a
She's a
villain.
good villain.
Yeah.
Trust me, and I tell people, look, the Dredd's awesome, and everybody's going, oh yeah, sure. I'm just telling you, look up reactions on Twitter from Comic-Con. Go back in the timeline to around Comic-Con and look up Twitter reactions for the people who were at the screening.
And then wasn't the
People
technology
loved it.
really cool too? It was like Phoenix camera.
Yeah, they
What was
use this
it?
new thing called the Phoenix camera, which Ryan helped me out here. This is like
the Phantom.
1,200 frames.
That's the
Phantom
Phantom.
cam.
It
Phantom
shoots at like
Shoots
1,200
frames per
frames.
second.
How many hundred?
I think 1,000 frames per second.
1,000 frames per second. So the slow motion in this is
like-
the most crisp, beautiful, smooth slow motion I have ever seen. It looks gorgeous.
I do like the idea of a Phoenix cam, though.
Yeah.
Like, what
Phantom. I mean, Phantom
reversed
makes me
itself.
think of Billy Zane.
No,
So
yeah,
it goes
totally.
there.
Everyone's
Phoenix
talking about the
Rise.
Phantom.
That's better.
What else we got? What else we got coming, Ryan?
All right. We got a few comments about the previous conversation about Justice League, Batman. We got some mishmash here. Would love to see a Cavill Bale YouTube short a la Dirty Laundry. Remember Dirty Laundry?
Oh
that I
my
showed you?
goodness, that's okay. For those of you who don't know, Ryan introduced me to this. They showed it at Comic-Con, but I didn't see it. But Thomas Jane, who played the Punisher a couple of Punisher films ago, did a short film on YouTube as the Punisher called Dirty Laundry, and it's awesome. It's so good. Look it up on YouTube. It's called Dirty Laundry. It's
posting the link.
amazing. What's
Nice.
that?
I'm going to post the link.
the
Yeah,
link.
okay. Ryan's going to put the link up at the chat board, and we'll put the link up in the show notes as well. But the idea of Henry Cavill and Christian Bale doing like a YouTube short video directed by Christopher Nolan.
I
love it.
I don't know that Christian Bale has that kind of sense of humor.
Yeah.
Of course he wouldn't do it.
He
Bale
would
wouldn't do
never
it, but
do
I
it.
he
love an actor
should do it.
that, Matt Damon would do that.
Matt
He
Damon
has
totally
that kind
do
of
it.
sense of humor, but I don't know that Christian
No,
Bale.
I
Christian
don't
Bale
see him
kind of
doing
takes
that.
himself a little serious. Understandably so. He takes himself a little seriously.
But oh man, I think that would be awesome. Anyway, what other things we
What's
got
the
there?
Batman
Ryan?
question?
The Batman question is, I'd rather see a Cavill Bale Batman versus Superman movie than the that's coming from Inclining Pizza, rather than a reboot
Well, I mean,
as an introduction to the JLA.
I think one
Right.
of the things
Yeah.
that we should say is like all of us really like The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
So
It was
we've
bashed,
sort of,
and it
Well,
was
no,
a
we
really
weren't.
great film. No,
Wait a
just
minute,
pulling
we
out the
weren't
holes.
bashing it.
You're pulling out the
Yeah.
holes and not pointing out the positives. I think that whole conversation was more exposing the flaws. But no one's doubting Nolan and his artistry, and he's an incredible
Well, yeah.
director.
And it's a very,
and
very
if that
good
wasn't
movie.
said, we all think it's really good. But compared to Avengers, best, most fun movie of the summer.
Yeah, we're just sort of although I do think Avengers, as much as I really am, I love Joss Whedon, and I really, really love the Avengers. That also has flaws. Everything has
Yeah.
flaws. Nothing is perfect.
We just exposed
That is
Batman
life.
and not
But-
Avengers.
But Batman has some incredible feats of filmmaking, and it's a worthy film, and it's great.
Yes.
So anyway, but that's interesting versus Superman.
That's
So-
the movie
so
we've
that-
all been waiting to see.
So yeah.
Yeah, if you've read The Dark Knight Returns,
Yeah.
the big confrontation is Batman versus Superman.
Henry Cavill, but Christian Bale is not going to be in this
No,
movie.
no,
No.
Christian Bale will have
He's
nothing to
done.
do with it. But the comment about it, we'd love to see a Batman
Yeah.
versus Superman. I've been waiting for that film for 20 years.
More than a Justice League. You would rather
Yes.
see that
I
more
would.
than a Justice
Yes,
League.
I think the idea that the viewer brings up is incredible. Instead of working on 5 different individual films to lead up to Justice League,
Right.
give us a Batman versus Superman as the lead up to Justice League.
Interesting.
That would be. I would eat it up. I would so eat that up. I'd be there. Ryan.
All right, next up we have, let's see. Oh, regarding the Oscars, back to the Oscars question. Robert Downey Jr. would be great, coming
he'd
from
be
3
great.
Frank
Oh my
F.
God, yeah.
How about as
Would-
Iron Man? Done.
Done, like
Or
fly
as Tony
in.
Stark.
Tony Stark.
As Tony
done.
Stark,
Yeah.
not so much as Iron Man.
Maybe
but as
just
Tony
one
Stark.
scene at least.
Did
or,
you-
Or how about the Muppets? The Muppets could host
Well,
the
Oh,
they
they thought about
Oscars.
that last year.
We
That was
advocated
last
this
year.
last year. Like,
Yeah,
Bring
we
him
did.
back.
I signed a petition
Let's
for this last
phenomenate
year.
it.
Let Kermit do it.
Muppet Oscars
Yeah,
was
awesome.
a whole online, sort of
Movement.
campaign
Station,
last year.
and I
But
loved
did you
it.
guys see the video of Robert Downey Jr. at Comic-Con this Comic-Con when he
genius.
comes dancing
Yes.
out down the aisles? It's like this is like the most charismatic like guy in Hollywood today.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
He's just the best.
he would be great. I would
He
love
would
to
be
see Robert
great.
Downey Jr. host the Oscars. He'd be awesome. Okay, we got time for like 2 more.
All right. Let's sneak in a goofy one here from Lungnut again. Hello, Lungnut. What's
Lungnuts.
John hiding beneath that cap? I bet he's got a really bad haircut going.
No, it's a smart
He's just
haircut.
representing.
No, actually, my hair might be kind of flatted out because of the hat,
Yeah.
but no, just.
Working.
Looks a
But
little
maybe I
military.
should go Mohawk. Maybe for next episode I should go Mohawk. I'll tell you what, if we get 1 million YouTube views of this particular video, notice I'm putting it unreachable. If we get 1 million views of this show on YouTube by next episode, I will shave. Hell, I'll do a reverse Mohawk.
Okay.
How's
Hell,
that?
we'll do it too.
We'll do it too if we get 1 million views. How about that?
And
Okay.
the last question, this is more for myself, but I got one from E. Douglas WW. If Joe Carnahan directs Daredevil, who would they like to see play him?
That's a great
Oh,
question.
that's
Great
great.
question.
And I know who E. Douglas is, by the way.
Yes,
One of the masters
we
of the
all
web.
know who
Yeah.
E. Douglas
Hello,
is.
E. Douglas.
What's up, E?
That's a great question. Of course, Joe just directed
The Gray.
The Gray with Liam Neeson, and it did, I think, his best film ever.
I think so,
And
too.
I like Smoking
Did you like
Aces.
Narc?
I like Narc.
I liked Narc a lot.
too.
I
thought
liked
got-
Art, but not nearly as much as I love The Gray.
Yeah.
But Daredevil, who could I see playing Daredevil? That okay, gonna laugh at me. We brought this up before, but I had this conversation a few weeks ago, and I mentioned the name Zach Levi. I think Zach Levi,
Zachary Levi.
not playing Chuck, but playing
And yet you
Murdoch.
reject me saying he would be a good Flash.
what about Joseph
I
Gordon-Levitt?
don't see him as Flash. I do see
see
him
him
as
as
a Daredevil,
Daredevil.
but I don't see him as Flash. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. No, I think just too physically small. I can't
Yeah.
buy Levitt as a superhero. He is one of my favorite actors
I love
today,
him.
but I can't see him as a superhero.
I think that Joe Carnahan is one of the. I'm really interested to see what he would do
Me too.
with Daredevil because he again has that gritty, darker tone to his films. This is not going to be big and poppy and bubblegummy and sort of, it's not going to be that tone. So whatever actor is cast is going to have to match Carnahan's directorial tone. And I don't really see Zach Levi in. I love him. He is a very
doll,
handsome
but-
man.
Once again, I just
Margaret.
think people, when they think of Levi, they just think of Chuck. But I think if
Okay.
you get out of that, explore the possibilities. Anyway, folks, listen, that will do it for this episode of For Your Consideration. Thank you so much for joining us and participating. I want to remind you guys, there's a few links we want to bring up here on the screen for you. You can get your movie news, get our editorials, read the stuff being written by J-Ro over here. 24/7. Get theater and showtime information at amctheaters.com. You can also really like us on Facebook at facebook.com/amctheaters. Follow us on Twitter /amctheaters. And do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can find all the episodes For Your Consideration. I want to thank Ryan, who's sitting back there. Thanks again, Ryan, for doing all that you do.
My pleasure.
I want to thank Amy Rose for joining us. You can't see him, but Dennis Zen is sitting behind the desk kind of running this whole circus. Roth, and for all you guys, once again, thanks for joining us. Don't forget, join us live every Monday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then you can find us on YouTube, watch us on Roku, watch us on Apple TV. Until next time, my name is John Campea. Thanks for joining us. See you later.